welcome to Devs Advocate Podcast, where a couple of indie game developers talk to other developers. My name is Eric
And my name's Anthony, and today we have Bobby
Mojsovski.
Mojsovski.
Today with us we have Bobby Mojsovski.
There we go.
How do I even begin to describe this person as far as what you do? You do so many cool things.
So, guys, first of all, nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I'm a freelancer, you can say. I'm a full-time freelancer and mostly indie game dev. I also do digital marketing, and I can say that I started digital marketing because of game development. Mm-hmm. So, thank you, Indie Games, for making me learn so many things. Like there was a time like a lot of my friends were, where are you, dude? What's happening with you? We can't see you like for weeks. You still studying? Yeah, still I am.
Yeah, that happens. So why don't we just start by you telling us a bit about yourself and how you got into game development in the first place?
How I started game development, that was like around 8 years ago when I was on college. And I'm a huge fan of games. I play a lot of games. I mean, I don't play anymore because I simply don't have the time. I guess it takes its toll. But when I started game development, I had this friend in our capital town in Skopje, and we were like, let's start making games. You know, like any other indie game developer who's so passionate about games, and let's go do this. Mm-hmm. Little did we know that
what a mistake.
It takes a lot of skill, yeah, a lot of skill, a lot of learning, and so on. We didn't do any research, we just dived into it. Let's do it. Let's go. Like the motto of it was Nike, just do it. Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah. So we just went like that and started working on it, started learning, and so on.
So what's the very first game you developed?
You guys won't believe me, but the first game is Alan Shop. The game that I'm still working on. Yeah, and it's 6 years since we've started it. I guess it took a lot of things that we realized that we need to learn a lot because we immediately dived into a huge project we didn't know back then. And we learned along the way. So as the game progressed, we acquired new skills, we got knowledge and so on. We learned a lot of new stuff. And I believe one thing that helped me change my life, I can say, and the way of I see things is reading like entrepreneurial, how do you say it? It's a very hard work.
Entrepreneurial?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that's the one. Like thinking, and I believe that that helped me to continue working on this game and trying to find new ways just to make it succeed. So I believe Alan Shaw, like I said, is the first game that we started. And after that, we worked on a 2-week project. It was called Wipe Toilet Plague. So I can't say like it was like a game that we wanted to do. It was more like a challenge for ourselves, how much we can do in 2 weeks. And as the name implies, Wipe Toilet Plague is basically about the situation that this moment brings. So Wipe Toilet Plague is mainly about like an ironic game about the situation that's occurring at this moment. Like there were a lot of people going to the stores, grabbing all that toilet paper. So we wanted to create like, why just don't we make a multiplayer game where players can fight between each other and gather toilet paper. So that was the idea.
But you've also done some freelance work for other games. How did you get into that?
Well, I've been on Upwork, on Hubs of Talent, and other freelance platforms for a very long time. I think that mostly due to not being able to have Kickstarter in our country for Alan Sharp, we needed some finances to cover the game's expenses, like artists and actors and music and so on. We needed the money, so that's why we both dived into freelancing. And I guess that's where it took off. So I've developed a lot of games for clients over the internet. and it was mostly like hyper casual games, low poly mobile games. I got Veggies Riot, which was a game like tower defense where you play with vegetables fighting meat. I think meat and fruits. Yeah. There was another game, Alkogel Defender, which was about again about this situation where you play a guy who throws, I don't know, I think it was like he was throwing alcohol at people who do not wear masks or something. I'm not sure. I was just doing the modeling stuff.
Amazing. I want to get into Alan Sharp, but first, I just want to ask a lot of indie game devs, especially that we've interviewed so far, go the route of do everything yourself. So don't pay anybody, don't outsource anything. Just wondering why you chose to outsource a couple things here and there.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it, that was our first mistake, I can say, because when we started, we all thought we could do everything ourselves. The thing is, we wanted to be full-time game developers. And to be a full-time game developer, and for our studio, Mystive Studios, you need to have money. And in order to have money, you need to have great time management. So if you have a good time management, if you know the limit of your game and like the scope of the game, you need to know that in this particular period, I need to do some stuff. So that needs to be finished. That's why we found some freelancers, some artists, and that's why we outsourced that. Because if we didn't do that, it would take a lot of work, and the game will continue to be postponed on and on and on. So that's the main reason.
Okay. So why don't you tell us about Alan Sharp? Give us the overview of the game, the story, anything you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, Alan Sharp is a mystery horror detective game where you play a detective. It's heavily story-based. So we developed the storyline. Here's another fact, guys. Before game development, I was also a writer. I wrote 2 books. And I mostly write in sci-fi and horror fiction. So I designed the storyline, the character growth and development. And the thing with Alan Sharp is like Sherlock Holmes, like one of the most popular fictional detectives in the 1970s. Some event occurs in his life. I think we've published this. Yeah, we've already said this to the public. His daughter dies, and his assistant, like a young guy, Sam Withers, which you play in the demo, he's found guilty about that. I can't speak too much because it will be a spoiler, you know. Yeah, so he's found guilty and he leaves Alan Sharp. Alan Sharp becomes like a drunk, depressed man, and so on. And you, in the first chapter, you play with Sam Withers, who's just another guy, another detective, ex-assistant of Alan Sharp, and you're investigating a very strange case. The case it's a fictional town. It's called Beggar's Hole. I know it sounds funny. I don't know how I came up with that. But the main inspiration for the town is basically Innsmouth from Lovecraft. So that's in Massachusetts, and a strange event happens where a child is found butchered in a wardrobe. The parents are missing, and people say that strange events occur in the house. And as you go to investigate, you find some things which are supernatural, something unnatural, but I cannot speak too much about it because there's a lot of mystery around the game and the story itself. So it could turn out that it's not supernatural, but players will have to find it out themselves.
Okay. It's a real estate developer in a mask. It's like Scooby-Doo, right?
Yeah. So there was one interesting fact. I was asking some information about Alan Sharp on Yahoo Questions. I think it was called that. That was like 4 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And when I asked this particular question, the administrators blocked the question and they wrote to me it's going to go for review. And I was like, I'm just asking for a game. I don't know if they thought that I was a terrorist or something. I'm not sure what did they mean. But when I asked this question, which was very relevant for the storyline, they just put the question down on Yahoo Answers, and it took me a lot of convincing just to tell them that this is for a game. You know,
Wow.
I cannot tell you the question, guys, because it's heavily related to the storyline.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I have a few friends like that. They're writers, and they're always making jokes about like, yeah, like what do they think when I'm searching for how to dispose of a body? Like,
Right.
Yeah, it usually goes like that.
What engine did you use to develop this game?
Alan Sharp is developed in Unreal Engine 4. I think it's one of the best engines out there, but in my experience as a freelancer, I also work with Unity. So there was like a very interesting question on Twitter. There were some guys, like I read it in the comments, arguing which engine is better, like Unreal or Unity. And I just wrote to them, when you're building a house, is it better to use like the red hammer or the green hammer, you know? So both of the engines like are amazing. I cannot say anything bad about the other engine, although each engine has its own pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I can say that I love Unreal Engine, but on the other side, every time we did update, like you do for a new version of Unreal Engine, and you open Alan Shop, and there were like 90,000 shaders compiling and so many errors. I'm like, oh my god.
Use the hammer that you know best, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
The one that you're more comfortable with. Was Unreal 4 out when you started developing it, or did you have to switch engines at some point?
No, we started with Unreal Engine and we just kept going with it.
Okay.
Can you tell us what it's like to develop a horror game? Specifically, like how do you scare a player when they can just kind of like turn around and exit the situation?
That's a great question. The thing is, with not just with horror games, that mostly with all of the games, the thing is good game design, and there's a lot of research, you know. So when you're developing a game, you need to pay attention to a lot of psychological facts. So, for example, for a horror game, you need to build up the tension before doing a jump scare, because there was article I read like when I was doing research about Alan Shop, and he mentioned we have like people evolution through the evolution we realize that fear is something that keeps you, like it stays with you. It's not like jump scare is not fear. Jump scare is like survival instinct. So if a game has a lot of jump scares and not enough building tension, it will not be very effective, because eventually in time those jump scares will become cheap and the player won't be affected by them, you know. So basically the creepiness, that creepy part is the one that's making the players scared. For example, if you take Amnesia, everybody knows Amnesia. There are some game mechanics like the sanity mechanic where you go in the dark and some things start popping up. There's a good sound design, and all of this contribute to the fears. When a jump scare occurs, it will be like the top of the cake, you know.
What kind of an experience can people expect from Alan Sharp? Because there's a lot of horror games that are more action-based. There are other ones where you're totally helpless and it's almost like a stealth games. There are ones where you need to solve a lot of puzzles. So what can people expect out of Alan Sharp?
Alan Sharp, like you say, it's basically one of those games where you're helpless. You can't fight back. But the thing with Alan Sharp is we try to do a mix of mystery, detective, and horror. So it's not purely horror.
Right.
We are doing some experimental stuff. For example, I think on our Steam we announced that there will be a system which is called the Suspect system. And as the game is planned to be open world and you can go anywhere you like, when you meet particular people, there will be a choice when the character will open up his journal, and you will have a list of all the characters you've met. And in some important moments in the game, you can add a tick on particular character. Why is this important? Because we want the players to analyze all the clues they found, to analyze the discussions with the other NPCs, and make themselves the choice who they think is the suspect. So in the end of the game, the one character that has the most ticks in the journal will be the one that is taken, but that doesn't mean that's the real ending. So basically it will have as much endings as there are characters in the game.
Any games, recent or old, that you draw inspiration from for this one?
Well, Alan Sharp is inspired from, like I said, Amnesia. We have Layers of Fear, The Beast Inside. Let me just think of Outlast also. So we have systems like in Outlast, survival moments where you're gonna run from particular NPCs. We have the Sherlock Holmes series. So this is not horror, but we also draw inspiration from Sherlock Holmes. There was also Call of Cthulhu, another game. And I believe all of those games, like if we do the right mix, will contribute to Alan Sharp the way we want it to be.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of that is missing in a lot of horror games, because if you look back at how the genre started with Alone in the Dark, it was basically, it had a lot of those like elements from point and click adventures of like Sierra games and LucasArts type games that it used in conjunction with real danger and, you know, the fear of dying.
Yeah, well, the games evolve a lot throughout the years. And one thing, when I did research, I realized that a lot of players nowadays simply don't have the time or the nerves just to focus on, for example, on one particular puzzle. So we have puzzles in Alan Sharp, but when we started developing them, when we did like some testing, internal testing, we realized that a lot of players won't have the nerves just to stay on one puzzle. Like, oh my god, it's gonna take a lot of time and so on. So we had to nerf them down, just for the game to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the new players like nowadays. The thing is that simply our life in the 21st century is too dynamic. We have a lot of things to do. We don't have the time, and I believe that's the main issue why it affects game development. So game designers will need to keep in mind that, because it might affect the game. And if a player starts playing and do a particular puzzle and he finds out it takes him a lot of time to do this, he might just exit the game and ask for a refund,
Right. When you're developing Alan Sharp, what are you most excited to develop, like art, music, or story, and what are you procrastinating?
Well, I'm the lead 3D artist of Alan Sharp. I do the modeling, texturing, animation. I don't know why, but I can say the thing I most hate is animation, guys. Because it takes a lot of time and let's move this hand a bit, let's move this leg a bit, every frame, and change it. That's why I don't like so much animation. I could say I love mostly hard surface modeling. So that's the primary thing I love, and also level design. Level design is also the second thing I love the most in game development.
That's awesome. Yeah, level design is something I don't want to say I struggle with it, but I get a lot of anxiety about it. It's like, what if it's not fun to play for people? Like, how do I make it fun, So it's always something that kind of gives me a lot of like trepidation.
Yeah, the thing is, when I started Alan Sharp, when I started doing the level design, I had no idea how to do it. I was just going, this could look cool on the screen, this will be interesting. And because of that approach, I think we had to do it like 2 times the game all over again. Because when I started reading game design books, there was a book by Ralph Koster, A Theory of Fun for Game Design. That book is very good. It dives into the psychology of game development and how players see things. There are a lot of videos. I think I did one video on my YouTube channel, where I speak about how to boost your level design, and that's mainly thanks to a lot of videos on YouTube I've watched, a lot of research I did, and a lot of books. And when I read those books, I realized all the things I was doing wrong. And that's 99% of level design, guys. So imagine like working for 2 years and you see that everything you've been doing wrong, and go all over from the beginning.
So, just wondering, how many people are involved in Alan Sharp?
The primary team are 3 people. So I'm doing all the visual stuff. I'm the lead 3D artist. We have another programmer, and the third guy is just like a PR manager. And he done the website for Alan Sharp. But like I said, we also did a lot of outsourcing. There are around, I'm not sure, like 16 or 17 actors. There's one guy who's doing the music. There was another guy who was working specifically on the sounds. So basically there are around 20 people who worked on Alan Sharp, but the main team is like the three of us.
Mm-hmm. And you said you were a writer. You did the writing for this game as well?
Yep, I did the writing, and if you want to know, if your listeners want to know some tips about writing, which I didn't know when I started, of course, always start with building your characters. So do not start directly with the story. There was a video I made how to write memorable characters, which focus on story arc. I can say that one of the best story arcs out there is Star Wars New Hope, which has great character development. And there are 4 things they need to watch out for. For example, the character... I'm not going to dive too much into this. It's going to take us a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to mention them, like the character lie, the character need, the character ghost, the character want. Those are like terms which will help you develop the arc of your character. And it's always good, maybe not in the game, but to have it for yourself when you start developing the storyline, to have like a back lore, like a, how do I say it, background story for each character. Because you need to develop the characters. You need to find the reasons why this character is doing this, or why is he doing the ways. How do they say this? For example, if a character is simply the bad guy, why is he bad? How did he become bad? Yeah. So those are very important things. They don't need to be like in the game, but you need to have them in order to develop a great storyline for the game itself.
Absolutely.
I guess last question on Alan Sharp. You have a demo out, right? And what is your planned release date and price?
Thank you for asking, guys. The demo was released during the Steam Summer Festival last year. And the game, we just postponed it now, mainly because this crisis affected us all, like the entire team. Not just financially, I'm talking about also physically and mentally and so on. There were a lot of issues. It was very bad. And we even reached the moment when we thought of shutting down the production of Alan Sharp. So that was like a very bad moment, but thankfully we passed it and now we're going good. And we've published a new date, which is going to be the 14th of May. So that's in 2 weeks from now.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. But the thing is, since a lot of things have affected our game, the game will be published in chapters. So Chapter 0, I think, Chapter 0 will be published on the 14th of May. And 2 months after that, or 3 months probably, will be Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Regarding the price, we want it to be probably $12.99. So basically, that's it, I guess.
Okay. I have one question. Technically, how do you do chapters? Every time you release a chapter,
the same thing.
Yeah. Are you replacing the whole game, or are you just adding files to the game itself?
It will mostly be like a DLC. So we are just adding other stuff. And there were a lot of people, hope hackers don't watch this podcast, guys, because there were a lot of people who were very confused why the demo was so huge. The thing is, most of the stuff from Chapter 0 is already in the demo, but it's just there were some blockers preventing you to go there. Yeah, so it will basically be like a DLC, just adding continually all the stuff. So, for example, Chapter 0 occurs in the main house and in some other, how do you say them, like supernatural places. But after Chapter 1, we will just simply open the world and you can roam anywhere you like in the town. You can visit the forest. There will be like some quests from the storyline at the lighthouse. There will be a church and so on, and a pub. So it will be like a quite huge experience.
Very cool. All right, so let's talk about your YouTube channel, which I think you started fairly recently, but even the few videos in that you already are, I feel like it's a bit of a treasure trove of knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you. Well, like I said previously, when I started game development, I was just going, I want to be a game developer. Now I see myself more like an entrepreneur. So besides game development, I do other stuff. If you like, we can talk about digital marketing, maybe to help a lot of game developers. So I wanted to start a channel because I found it frustrating, to be honest, that a lot of great indie games are not succeeding. And that's mainly due to marketing and other stuff. And I wanted to share everything I know, all my mistakes I did in the past 7 years, so beginner indie game developers don't make the same mistakes. So that was the main reason why I started the channel, the YouTube channel. A lot of game developers are amazing, and the frustration here is they're amazing, but they're not exposed that much like those AAA games and so on. Yeah, marketing requires a lot of money. We all know that, but there are ways when you can promote and market your game with zero budget, basically, or maybe, I don't know, like $200 or $300. So that's the reason why I started this channel. I want to help indie game developers and just share my experience with them. So in order for them to make good, successful games, I believe the indie game scene deserves so much more than it is in the current position.
Awesome. So this channel is to help guys like me and Eric. What are some indie game dev excuses that we're using on ourselves?
I did a video about the indie game excuses.
Yes.
Yeah, there were some things like I spoke with in my country with some game developers who said like, I want to start making games, but I'm not sure if I have the knowledge for it. And I was like, guys, like that's the, I don't know, that's the worst excuse I've heard. We are living in the 21st century. Just Google it, man.
Yeah.
You can find everything on Google. And even for Alan Sharp, when I was stuck on something, on some particular thing, there are like 1,000 forums and Discord channels and on Twitter, and all of those people are very helpful. And if you write the issue, they can surely help you with that. So I see that as an excuse when someone says like, I can't make it because I don't know some things. So that's one of the excuses. There was another excuse like, let me just remember, what was it? There was another excuse like, I need to have a powerful computer to create games. I can say depends on the game, you know? If you're doing a hyper casual game, you don't need a powerful computer. And if you're doing like World of Warcraft, yes, you will need a powerful computer, but that's a mistake from the beginning. If you're a solo dev, you don't go making World of Warcraft.
One more YouTube question, basically the same question, but from your other video. Save your game by avoiding these 10 game design mistakes. What are one or two that you want to highlight for us?
I think I already highlighted them when we were speaking. One of them was not using the framing technique. Like I said, that's one of them. The second was using light in the proper way. So I'm not speaking about using lighting for your entire scene. I'm using, like I said, adding light in a particular place where you want the player to see some stuff. I will also mention another technique I found out recently, which I didn't mention in the video on YouTube, is utilizing negative space. So that's part of game art. For example, if you're doing a 2D game, if you've seen on Google, there are like forms and shapes where there's a man and a woman in black, and there's a white space in the middle. And if you see it, if you look closely, it will be man and woman in black, but in the middle it will look like a cup, you know?
Right.
So that's utilizing negative space. And for example, in a 3D game, if you have like a cool tower, some place where, for example, you want the player to meet a boss or something, you will need to design that tower and the surroundings around it to be like, how to explain? You have, for example, 2 mountains on the sides, a space between the mountains in the tower and the tower in the middle. So the main focus of the player will, when he passes, for example, a cave, he will immediately see that tower and know, yeah, this is the place where I need to go. So I realized that many players are frustrated when they don't know what to do in a game. So I think I've discussed this in my video. For example, one good game design tip would be to using some kind of indicator to tell players that a particular item is interactable. I spoke with some indie game developers and they were like, we don't want to add like an icon or flickering item. Why? Because in real life it doesn't do that. But gamers play games due to, there's a term called escapism. I think you've heard it probably. Yeah, so just to escape the real life and the problems and have some satisfaction, and you cannot go with real life things in game. So basically, if a player needs to have interactable item, you need to tell that player, yes, this item is interactable.
That's one reason I got really frustrated with Red Dead Redemption 2. You had to like open every single drawer individually and then click every item individually. I was like, man, just let me press one button and get everything. It's a video game.
Well, we had the same issue with Alan Sharp, guys, when we published the first demo, and we didn't have like any indicator that an item is interactable. And the player, I saw YouTubers getting frustrated, like opening all the drawers in the house. Like, where is this item? And then we did an update, like we made the interactable items like to flicker when you approach them.
No, I took a graphic design course a while ago, and I found it interesting. The instructor who made the course, the way they defined the word design, I don't remember the exact definition, but a key part of it was communication, and that you have to, like, it's not just about looking pretty, it's about communicating something to the other person, right? Like, that's where that challenge is, but that's also where the creativity comes in, is how do you make something look natural while communicating that it's important or not important.
Yeah, that's right. And also, yesterday I read an article about game art specifically, and it mentioned that every art piece you're doing should evoke emotion to the player. So, for example, there was an example in this video, like a 2D artist was drawing a tree, and if you see the tree from a different angle, like from very far away, it could indicate loneliness or calm. So it depends on what you're going for. So every art should evoke some kind of emotion to the player, because basically, not just in gaming, even in music, you need to evoke emotion, some certain. For example, one of the most powerful things especially in gaming, I've seen by doing my research is nostalgia. A lot of players play games which remind them of some games they've played in the past. So usually artists can use this just in a way to subtly remind them of some game they've played, and that will make sure that those players keep on playing without refunding the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, when you say that, it makes me think of, like, for example, let's say you take like a Super Mario game or something, and you're decorating the set, and you throw like a little teddy bear in there. People are probably be like, "Oh, that's cute. That's a teddy bear." But then you can take that same exact teddy bear, put it into like a zombie game, and it's like, oh, a child probably died here. It's like very different emotional response from the same exact thing, right?
Yeah. On the trailer of Alan Sharp, I have like a teddy bear which is all in blood, and they all through the teddy bear I show the gamers that the child that was killed died right there.
Well, there you go. Okay, so I want to talk about that scary M word, marketing. One of the reasons why I didn't want to have you on the show is because you're one of the very few people who actually showed enthusiasm for marketing.
Yeah, I love marketing. I mean, I'm a very social person. I love to get out with people, I hang out, hear their opinions, and mainly that's the main reason why I love marketing. I started doing marketing when I entered UX Labs. It's like a company which is doing web development. So it's not game development, but the thing with marketing is basically the same thing except for some small few things, And as you learn, you realize that marketing needs to be continuous. And a lot of developers make mistake when they're publishing something like for people to see, and they don't publish another thing for a week or maybe 2 weeks and so on. So when I speak in my videos, I always say, when you start marketing, start from the beginning. You have like a playable prototype, like, I don't know, you don't need to have art. You can just have like a block out of your level, and you can simply do a video, like I don't know, like a live stream where you're doing the level, and it will be part of marketing, And of course, for marketing, there are a lot of things which contribute to have a good marketing. For example, I think you've seen the first Tree, the game by Game Dev Unlocked, with the fox, if you remember. He was using monochromatic colors. Yeah, the thing with that game, design contributes to the marketing itself. For example, he was using such monochromatic colors and something like that, and so when players scroll down their social media feeds, they will immediately see the game. It will grasp their attention. So there are many things in marketing we can discuss, like in one video. For example, you can do email marketing, you can do content marketing, social media marketing, ads, and so on. There are a lot of things to do. But what's very important is to have consistency and to know your target audience. Because marketing by itself is nothing if you haven't done any research on your target audience. Let's take, for example, I see many game developers writing replies or comments on Facebook, on Twitter, and so on. Like, first, when you start game development, you need to create the game for yourself. I believe this is wrong. For example, if I want to have a game like, I don't know, Siberia, Siberia, the game, which was in the 90s, something like that, I don't know when it was published. It had very hard puzzles. And let's say you like puzzles. But nowadays, people don't have the time to do those puzzles. So it will all depend on what your main goal is. So if you're like a hobby game developer and you don't care about having too many players play a game, you can just create like a goal for a game that you like. But if you're having a studio which your family depends upon, for example, it brings you finances, then you're gonna have to do the research and focus on your target audience, find out what they like. For example, if you know Call of Cthulhu, there was another game, Lovecraftian game, The Sinking City. Right before that, guys, like 2 months before the first game came out, I was reading on Facebook in the groups and so on, communicating with people, and there were a lot of people like mentioning there weren't any good Cthulhu games except for the first one, Dark Corners of the Earth, and so on. There were a lot of discussions about Lovecraftian games. There was a huge interest, and 2 months after that, I see a game which was in development, like posting their first marketing stuff. Like, we are doing a Lovecraftian game. So basically, like I'm doing marketing, there are other people who are constantly watching the market and checking what people like. So that's how they find like the niches for particular games.
So how do we do that as an indie dev? Like, how do I do market research? What does that even mean?
It depends on the game. What kind of game are you developing, guys?
Eric's got a platformer game, and I've got a kind of like Scrabble checkers mix game.
Okay, so let's start with the platformer game. First of all, in order to find your target audience, there's a term called social listening, which is very time consuming. It's not hard to do, but if you enter particular Facebook groups, for example, there are a lot of indie game groups, a lot of YouTuber groups. You will need to research and find out through the posts the people who want platformers. You will find particular people. On Instagram, for example, you can find your competitors. Let's say, what game is a platformer? I can't remember at the moment. Can you give me an example of a platformer? Like Neversong from Thomas Brush. I think that's a platformer, right? Neversong, Once Upon a Coma.
Yeah.
Like Hollow Knight?
I guess so, yeah. Hollow Knight would be sort of in that Metroidvania platformer.
Yeah, something like that. So you can find your competitors and check for example, their followers on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. See which are those people that play those games. You can then go follow them, see what they're writing about, what are their interests in the game, what do they find interesting in particular platformers. And after you find what your audience wants, which are your competitors, then you can start doing the marketing. So you will basically have all the data. And one thing I found very effective is when you look at a successful competitor, you will notice that they post at particular times because your target audience won't be online all the time. For example, on Twitter, I think the lifetime of a tweet was around, 10 minutes or something like that. I have all those written down. On Facebook, hashtags won't work. they won't work anymore. But did you say Facebook? Yeah. But on Twitter, hashtag is the most powerful organic thing to reach your consumers. So you will need to do the research, find the right hashtags. I know it's time consuming, but it's very necessary in order for a game to succeed. Another thing besides social media would be writing to YouTubers. You will need to find a list of all those YouTubers who specifically play platformers. You can't go and expect of a guy who plays first-person shooter games to play your platformer. So you do the research. You go, for example, the YouTube About section, find their email. If it's not there, you can find it on LinkedIn maybe, or on Facebook, on Twitter. Find their email address. And after that, you can write to, after you make the list of all those YouTubers, you can just write to them. And it's going to be too much diving into marketing. There are also particular techniques for writing emails. For example, let me introduce one. If you see an email, free game, and so on, no one will open it. But if you do a hook, like in the title, the most popular are those Kardashians, like those they use marketing tips like in the magazines, like look at this, or let me just check. I think I got it at the moment. I got an email like, Bobby, should we live on without you? And I was like, what? Where are they living? Who are these guys? And I'm opening the email, Those are some hints that can help you reach out to particular YouTubers.
The one thing I found, and I always say this in my other podcasts, is the indie dev community on Twitter is amazing. Everybody is very supportive and very nice, but when trying to get a following, it kind of sometimes feels like a little bit of a bubble or an echo chamber where it's like all the people following me are other developers making their games. How do you reach an audience of actual gamers or players who will be the consumers that you're going after?
Yeah, that's the main issue. They do mistake in marketing. Usually, other developers post their game to groups and channels where they are mostly developers. The developers are not your target audience, so you will need to find the people who are playing those platforms. How you can start that is simply by following and researching particular YouTubers. So YouTubers can help you find that particular target audience. So, for example, if you find a YouTuber who plays a lot of platformer games, it will be, if you think about it, those people who follow this particular YouTuber are guys who want to see platformers. So those are the guys which are your target audience. And then you can follow them. If you have a game, you can follow those particular people. So if I dive too much into it, it will be too long video, but if there's also optimizing your Steam store page or optimizing even your Twitter page. So let's take, for example, if you just add the name of your game in the title. They might think it's maybe some other guy with another name and so on. But if you add 3D platformer and so on, those people who want to play platformers, when you follow them and see who is following them, will say, oh, let me check this out, That's how you start. Even in marketing, there's a thing called marketing funnel. It's like a funnel where you see your consumers. At the top of the funnel are those people who basically love platformer games, but they do not know so much about your game. They love other platformers. And there are different techniques for each step of the way how you can grasp those consumers. So, for example, you need to draw the attention with some interesting things like art or maybe something like that, those people on the top of the funnel. Then they go into the next stage where they know about your game, but they're still not sure. Then you will need to take a different approach. And after you're doing the research, provide them visual material like videos or GIFs or images, which they are already familiar with. For example, let's take Netflix. There was a wallpaper about Stranger Things when they used a lot of inspiration. I think it was from Friday the 13th. I'm not sure. It was from another movie. And what was talking about nostalgia. For example, you create some art and those people already know your game. and you add some things which will a little bit remind them of some very popular game that they like, that you know that they like. How will you know that they like this game? Basically, you've done your research, you've seen that in their posts, in their comments, and you know that this will basically make them engage with your tweet. And like I said, as you go down the funnel, the last step will, the last stage of the funnel will be, so those people are convinced by you. You already convinced them with a lot of art and sharing and so on. So those people are now ready for the final strategy, marketing strategy, where you will convert them into your buyers. It's basically it's a huge topic, marketing. And what I could suggest to you is, it's not about game development, but basically about overall marketing. You can check HubSpot. HubSpot has a lot of good tutorials about marketing, which will also help you with your game. There are a lot of videos on the internet. There was one great idea that Thomas Brush, who's an awesome game developer, full-time game dev, he mentioned that how did he get the YouTubers to play his game? He just emailed every single one of them, like 300, 400 YouTubers, but he didn't ask them to play his game. Instead, he asked them to be part of the game and be like actors in the game. So that's how he got PewDiePie. I think it was not Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. It was, yeah, PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye. He asked them to play, to act like certain characters in his game, and that was a very efficient technique. So marketing is constantly changing. It's constantly changing, and you need to keep an eye on a lot of things, because I don't know if you know that on Facebook, for example, now with the new update on iOS, it will affect for example, the ads. It's a dynamic process, but you will need to keep an eye out. But one thing which could help you a lot is sit one day after you do the research and create a social media calendar. For example, on this day, I found out from my competitors that having a good image is the key. On Monday, I will add a good visual, like an image. I found out that on Wednesday, it's great for from the competitors. I found out that if I add some interesting behind the scenes image, like how we're developing the game, it had most engagement. I will add that on Wednesday. You can create a whole calendar and prepare everything before you start posting. So social media calendar, it's a must in the marketing world.
Should you know or have a general idea of how many sales your game is going to make before you release it?
You cannot guess that, but I've seen some successful indie game developers who just write down the hours just to find out the development costs. I've worked on this game for this many hours, so my game costs this much. But this is only for yourself. You cannot know how many people will buy a game. Usually, for example, the wish lists, usually only around 20 to 30% of the number of wish lists you have will buy the game. And the others are not that sure. You can't know that. The only thing you can do is just keep on marketing, increase those wish list numbers. And another good strategy, which I found it quite useful, is even better than wishlists on Steam, is having an email newsletter. Wishlist is basically the same as email, in a way. But the thing with email newsletter is you can continually contact your consumers by sending weekly newsletter, maybe some updates on the game, or I don't know, behind the scenes stuff, and you will always keep them engaged. And I believe that email newsletter, it will be more helpful than just expecting to have more sales simply by asking them to wishlist the game.
This is all fantastic, all this information that you're giving us, but the part of the problem, I think, in game dev community is that people just, like I said, there's a bit of anxiety about that kind of stuff. Is there any advice you can give to developers to make them a little more enthusiastic and incentivize marketing their own game a bit more, other than that, hopefully the end result will be more followers?
Sure, just one sentence, guys. Watch my latest video. My latest video was basically about, I wrote a tweet. It was are there any developers here who are doing story-based games? And the tweet just exploded, like 100 likes. A lot of people promoted themselves. And I was going like, I want to make a video about this, but I wanted to make it like a hook, like catchy. I started the video like, so there were those guys who promoted themselves. So those people, I hope they won't like stop the video before I tell them that I'm very proud that they did it, because I sounded like, you promoted on my tweet, I'm gonna kill you, But I did it intentionally because I wanted those guys just to keep their attention, to make them wait before I say, guys, I'm very proud of you, and you don't need to be ashamed of self-promotion. In the video, I also inserted like a cut of Arnold Schwarzenegger who says, "Am I allowed to swear here?"
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. These are not my words. This is like from Arnold Schwarzenegger quoting, "You need to work your ass off, and early in the morning, work your ass off and advertise. Tell the world what you're doing." So that's one of the steps for success. And what I could say to indie game developers: do not be shy about your game. Just keep on going. And there was like a Facebook post I read, and there was a guy who like created a video, something like a level design, but he didn't show anything from the game. And another guy commented like, we just see here like assets posted, assets put here and there and so on, but we don't see the game design. And he was replying like, but I'm not sure if people would like it. I mean, how can you know if people like it or not if you don't market it,
Yeah.
That's a very big if. And every time you see like a negative comment, I'm not speaking about those like, you are like that, you're like this. I'm speaking about someone giving some critical feedback about your game. We got a lot of critical feedback even for Alan Sharp. And we didn't get disappointed, because while we're doing Alan Sharp, we're doing this for the people who want to play those games. And if they're saying this is not good, okay, let us hear your opinion. Let's see how we can change that. And communicating with your target audience will most definitely bring the game forward. So you need to start, just do the marketing. If someone doesn't like particular thing, for example, if it's only one person, you're going to have to wait and see what other people say about it. But when you see that many people don't like particular thing, you don't need to feel disappointed. You just need to change the thing, make it the way your audience wants it.
Great advice.
All right. So I think a part of the reason why some people do have a hard time promoting themselves, and like you said, I don't know what if people don't think it's good, is just something that exists universally everywhere, which is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Any tips on fighting that off?
Well, that's a very hard question, let me say. Yeah.
But like, you're so, passionate about everything. Like, you get on YouTube and you're like, okay, look, here are some tips about level design or about your game design. Like, aside from the fact that you've, been doing a ton of research and trial and error of your own, where do you find that fire and confidence to be like, look, I know something about something?
Basically, that's like they say, knowledge is power. Basically, you need to learn a lot. So go check out YouTube videos. You can read books based on game design, yes, of course. But however, being an indie game developer, I'm not speaking about a game developer who learns 3D and goes to the company, but being basically an indie game developer who works for yourself, you are like an entrepreneur. So you're creating your product and you need to sell it to the world. You need to read, to think about stuff which fulfill you, which will make you a better person. And there are a lot of books about it. I can say, for example, let me think of a book which comes first in my mind. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a great book. Then you have there was the power of the subconscious mind, which is another great book. It's not about game development, but it's basically about building yourself as a character. In my video, I speak about there was a thing like I talked with a game developer, and he said, I'm not going to do marketing because I don't want someone to steal my idea. I think this is very popular with other game developers. And what I answered him from my research, because when I realized marketing is basically in every aspect, every industry. So that's the same with game development. When I do a research, I see that this topic is very popular with game developers, and they say like, I don't want anyone to steal my idea. And my answer is, dude, no one cares about your idea, you know?
Everybody has a ton
Yeah,
of their own ideas, right?
Yeah.
yeah. The real thing is how many of them will realize their idea, make it reality, you know? Usually they all start with this idea. And another thing I realized is very wrong if you say my project, my game is unique. There are like a million games coming out there. Let's take, for example, Valheim. You know, Valheim
Oh
is very
yeah.
popular at the moment. Yeah. When I saw this game, I said, this game is basically Minecraft. You know, you got crafting skills, you got fighting skills, and so on, but they're so well made that they make up the game it is at the moment, you know? So you don't need to invent something new to be completely new. You just need to stick to what your audience wants. That's the main thing, you know? And like us, not to stray too far from the topic, first you will need to build yourself as a person to have more confidence, and you will need to make the people via marketing to make the people see your game. So it's not like they're gonna steal your idea or anything, or if they're gonna like it or not. You just go with it, trust in your product. That's like the second thing you will need to have. Believe in what you're doing, and you can go a long way.
Yeah, that's partially why I love game development. It's like, because you know what? I love games. Like, I'm going to make something that I would want to play, like something that, I believe in. It's like if I was making, I don't know, like I worked in retail before and I was selling stuff that I did not want to sell. And I'd just be like,
Mhm.
you probably shouldn't buy it, but I can't say that because I need to make my quota, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, usually it goes like that. Like you said, the main thing is game developers need to have more confidence. That's the main reason, the main thing. And they need to love more marketing. I did a poll and there were a lot of developers like, I hate marketing, I don't want this. Yeah, but the thing is that it's very necessary. Indie game development, it's not like being a, I don't know, web designer. Web designer is a particular profession, but being an indie game developer, you need to know a lot of things, you know? You need to know, for example, if you're doing a 3D game, you need to know 3D modeling, which is in a way part of, I don't know, architectural design, something which is, then you have programming, then you have sound and design, and so on, so on. So there are a lot of things which contribute to indie game development.
Yeah.
But if you want to be that guy who's creating those games, then there are a lot of sacrifices to be done. But eventually, if that's your goal, you're not going to give up.
Okay, I think we've been talking for over an hour now, and we've talked about a lot of fantastic things.
Yep.
So I think we'll call this talk here. Thank you so much, Bobby, for coming on our show.
Thank you, guys, too.
Yes, thank you. A lot of fun. A lot of good information. And I say this after every episode, but I think that was our best episode.
I mean, like I said, like you said, what was it, like 36% or something of people don't like marketing? Like, this is
Let me check. It's still 30 or something. I'm currently on Twitter. It was 30.8 or something like that. I'm not really sure. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of other people probably, even if they don't mind it, maybe they're not doing everything right. So this is very important information for any developers who want to actually put their name and their game out there and have people actually experience it.
Yeah, well, I could just say before we shut down, guys, I could just say it doesn't even matter if it's game development. If you have a goal in your life, I want to be this, you will do everything it takes to make it succeed. So when I started game development, I didn't know that it required, again, marketing and modeling and programming and so on. But over the years, I realized that this is the thing I want to do in my life. This is what fulfills me. I want to be a game developer, full-time game dev, so I will do anything it takes to make it succeed. So that's the mindset you should go with. So just don't give up, learn, study a lot, and use that knowledge to create your product.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. This has been Game. Well,
What show is this?
I don't know. This has been Dev's Advocate Podcast. If you like what you just heard, please subscribe to us, follow us on social media, and check out our other episodes because we've talked to a lot of great game developers about their journey and got some great information from other people. And if you are an indie developer or somebody involved in indie game development, please, and you want to be on the show, talk about your game, talk about your life, please contact us either through social media or through, what's our email?
Yeah, you can also email us at devsadvocatepodcast@gmail.com.
Have a good day, folks.